The Hyundai Verna has turned out to be a successful model for the company since its launch, and if you follow Express Drives, you would remember that the Verna won 2 of our sedan shootouts last year. Now, while we have talked about the features of Verna in detail, what matters to you more as a buyer is the fact that how a car fares in the long term. And to know that, we got the Verna in our long-term fleet. We got one, the petrol automatic, for a month, and that was followed by the diesel manual, which we have with us here today. Now, about 4 months and 3,000 kilometers later, we are going to tell you what are the pros and cons in the new Verna that you are likely to face on a day-to-day basis if you are to own this car. The first good thing about the Verna that grabs one's attention is the sharp and angular design. The LED DRLs and the LED tail lamps look premium, and the coupe roofline adds a lot of sportiness to the design. Add other smart elements such as these stunning alloy wheels, and what you get is a sedan that looks modern, premium, and the sharpest in its segment. The second thing that gives the Verna an edge over its competitors is the rich list of features. Apart from the impressive connectivity and storage options, the cherry on the top of the cake is the inclusion of features such as ventilated seats, which is not only a segment first, but not all cars from a segment above 2 have it right now. There's also a smart boot release system, which doesn't require you to do acrobatics of kicking or swinging your leg. Just stand close and 3 beeps later, the boot opens. Voila! Add to it a sunroof, which apart from the Verna is offered only in the Honda City in this segment, and what you get is a cabin with the best in segment comfort and convenience features. Now, one of the other things you're going to love in the new Verna is its infotainment system, especially this touchscreen. Now, this is a color touchscreen which offers an impressive touch input. So if you press anything, there is no lag at all, and the instant feedback is there for you. Now, this also comes loaded with features. You get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, aux-in, and your regular FM connectivity. You also have inbuilt navigation. So when you add all of these and add to it the fact that this offers one of the best visibility under direct sunlight, which is not the case with many other cars in this segment, you get an infotainment system that is going to keep you happy for a long time to come. Now, one of the other areas where the Hyundai Verna has an advantage over the competition is the engine. Well, with a power output of about 125 horsepower and 250 Newton meters of torque, this is the most powerful diesel engine in its segment. You also have the option of a 6-speed manual gearbox and a 6-speed automatic gearbox, which is something that very few cars in this segment offer. Even the petrol variant can be had with a 6-speed manual or an automatic transmission. So you pair up that and you get a car that gives you the option of a lot of convenience. In terms of driving too, the gearbox is matched well. If you talk about this 6-speed manual we're driving here, the ratios are well set, it's easy to use and complements the nature of the engine. Now, another good thing in the new Verna, if you compare it to the older Verna, is that unlike the older model, the power in this engine is not served to you in one single dollop in a burst. This has a much more linear power delivery, so it is still quick, but because the entire power does not come down in a burst, it feels much more refined to drive and is much more easy and manageable. In terms of NVH proofing as well, again the Verna is right at par with this segment, so the cabin is fairly silent. There's not much of diesel clatter that filters through once you're cruising at highway speeds. So yes, it does complement the engine's nature of being a powerful yet a refined unit. And of course, in terms of driving performance, like I told you, it is a quick car, it is fun to drive, but coming to the most important question that a lot of Indian consumers have in their mind, kitna deti hai? Well, in that aspect, our long-term car has been returning us an average fuel efficiency of about 15.8 kilometers to a liter of diesel, and the highway best figure that we have recorded is 23.7 kilometers per liter, and in bumper-to-bumper traffic between West Delhi and Noida, the best we have got is 15.6 kilometers to a liter. So pair all of that together, what you get is a quick car which isn't a heavy drinker. Now, with so many good things and positive points discussed about the new Hyundai Verna, it is time to discuss the shortcomings in this car. Now, there are just a few of it, but we need to discuss them, and starting off, the first point is the absence of enough legroom. Now, with the driver's seat adjusted to my height for reference is 5 feet 8 inches, as you can see, I have a decent amount of space, but it is not at par with the other cars in the segment. Say if you compare it to the Maruti Suzuki Ciaz or the Honda City. I've got just about enough space, and if you are a taller occupant, say if you're 6 feet tall, legroom could be an issue for you. So now to discuss the second shortcoming in the Verna, well, we're back in the same position because that shortcoming lies again in the rear of this car. And the second shortcoming is the headroom. Now, you can see there's not much of it, and you already know my height, so I just have about a couple of inches here. So you can imagine if you are say about 4 to 5 inches taller than me, you would find your head brushing against the roof, and I can tell you that is not a very comfortable thing to be. Now, the reason for this is the stupendously good looking roofline that we discussed earlier. While it gives the car a dynamic effect, it also compromises headroom because it slopes down right from the B-pillar, and that is the reason why legroom and headroom are the main two shortcomings in this car. So now it's time to sum up how the Hyundai Verna has fared up in our long-term fleet report. And to tell you, well, the strong points: it has the class-leading engine in terms of power. It is good to drive with improved handling. Now it is a fun car in fact to drive. It has got class-leading infotainment system. And if you talk about in-cabin features too, again, the Hyundai Verna sets a benchmark in its segment. Now if you add all of this up, well, we have a lot of positives, but again there is a negative of lack of rear legroom, lack of headroom, but that isn't going to matter much to you unless you are going to be chauffeur driven or have a large family. So if that is not your prerogative, well, the Hyundai Verna in our opinion is still the best car in its segment.